Hi, everybody. Welcome to Zenny 62 at 1 o'clock in the morning, which is 10 o'clock on the West Coast. But you know what? The good news, it's still earlier in Hawaii. Yeah, dilly. I started this time because my focus, as I've said before, of late has been on my mom, and she's better today, but still tired. This has been a rough week. This has been a rough on me, physically and emotionally. My sleep is irregular. Sometimes I don't quite know what's going on. She's in pain. Since she's not in pain, things work and they don't. The great news out of all this is that her blood pressure is under control. Folks, I didn't mean to make this about that, but I cannot say enough for getting a blood pressure monitor. Just using it, all right? Just use the thing. Cannot say enough. Hey, Joshua AG, how are you? Says, thank God. Yeah, it's tough. You know, your only family, man. It's my only family. And like I said, the people that were making these jokes about, oh, he's broken, living with his mother and all this, and I'm taking care of my mom, right? I know, Lord, forgive me. But I'm only human. And that's wrong. That's wrong to do, Remember something. Everybody has a button to push. Don't go around trying to push people's buttons. You don't know where it'll lead. I think we've seen it, okay? I'm just saying. Just don't do stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with being nice. Because this is an emotionally trying period for me. It's my only family, right? That's it. So I think all that aside, mom is going to be back to normal. I think what happened was she just sort of pulled her muscle more than anything, and it exacerbated her high blood pressure situation. I'm telling you, the doctors could do a lot better. We wind up going to the hospital yet again to basically, I'm just saying, make them do their work, okay? So that's just laying that out there. Just laying that out there. And okay, so this show is about some things. But yeah, family is very important. Family is very important. I was so emotionally caught up here. I forgot what this. I really did. I think the one way to get around that is to go back to the YouTube. I'm sorry, it's just not the greatest time, and that happens. But when you're going through stuff emotionally, you kind of get to that point where you don't care about what you say. Within reason, you're just letting your heart pour out, right? Because you're upset. And yes, more evidence of Oakland Raiders dealing with Las Vegas behind Libby Schaaf's back. That's what it is. And what bothers me about this title thingy is I'll just say, I think I'll retitle it so that it's centered. And I could tweet it out better. I got to take the more out of it because, it doesn't leave you enough space. All right. And, but hey, it's YouTube. I love YouTube. 1 million% support Susan Wojcicki, the CEO, and all the people there. I want to send my condolences to YouTube employees who've been really negatively impacted by this whole thing. It should have not have happened. It did happen. Hey Jamal, how you doing? Great to see you, my man. It did happen, and I hope it never ever happens again in YouTube history. I really hope I never hear about that. All right. So, all right, enough of me. Hey, did you guys happen to see where I think 95.7 of the game is complaining that the Raiders are not calling them back for an interview. Looks like I've got company, folks. Looks like I've got some company. I'm going to tell you what I think is going on before I launch into the title of all this. I think Mark Davis is winning ugly and is continuing. What he's doing is basically continuing to burn bridges, burning his ships, right? That's what he's doing. He's burning the ships, burning people. And people who've been critical of him in the past, myself, Damon Bruce was critical of the organization. I don't know who else the Raiders are stiff arming, but they're taking it out and they're making it a personal issue. It's really sad. And it's going to be interesting to see how Davis' behavior and this focus on Las Vegas impacts the fan base season. What he's doing, Davis, the owner, principal owner, he's dousing water John Gruden hired by his own behavior toward Oakland fan base. Okay, that's what he's doing. He's not saying, hey, you know what? I want them to come with me, so I got to be nice to them, have some specials and everything. No, it's Mark is playing a role that I didn't really pick up on when he told me a few years ago, but I get it now. I was about to talk with him about the Super Bowl bid that I did that would benefit the Raiders and everything, and he says, I don't want to hear about the past. Translation, I'm the new king. I'm the new sheriff in town. I am the Oakland Raiders. Whatever happened before me was my dad. Whatever happens after me is me. That's the way he's playing it. That's the way he's playing it. So he's also playing it a little bit like Donald Trump. President Trump is a really sensitive dude. And so he's only going to talk to people, President Trump, who give him positive, press, right? Fox News, right? Or tell it like he thinks it is. But anybody who dare criticize him, oh no, that is the Donald Trump way. Divide and conquer the fan base. Doesn't that just sound like what Donald Trump has done to America? Divide and try to conquer it. Or arguably you would say he's president, so he divided and conquered, right? That's what it looks like to me. That's what it looks like to me. Sadly, but that's what it looks like to me. Is it right? Hell no, it's not right. It's completely wrong. I said the other night, it's bad karma. It's just bad karma, all right? Now, the question is, what, as Crawford says, Davis is going to crash and burn before he blinks. Yep. I'm not even going to guess at the possibility of that. There's just so much spiritually bad about this. But let me get to the title of this, which is more evidence. And I'll just say straight up that the ESPN and also Las Vegas Sun article, no, not Las Vegas Sun, but was repeated in Las Vegas Sun, but it also wound up in the Reno Gazette Journal that I discussed last night. That article contains an important key date, and that's March 8th. Now, what's March 8th, 2015? March 8th, 2015 is the date that Mark Davis met with this gambling specialty guy. Let me see if I've got my, let me go back here and just simply get the article and read it again to you, okay? Not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the points. It's a long article. It's quite detailed. What happens is that the author, or happened, excuse me, was that the author of it got a hold he did a Public Records request, and he received, in fact, I may very well do that myself on something else. He received Governor Brian Sandoval's schedule, went through it, And what he discovered, this man, is he discovered that Governor Sandoval met with a number of people in trying to. There's actually two articles in here. Okay, first of all, there's a Governor Sandoval one about the schedule. That's the Review Journal. All right, and that dovetails with the ESPN article. So there's two. Excuse me. All right, got a little tied up there because it's just been so much going on. All right, but at any rate, in that article, there it is. Here it is. The title of this one is "How Two Las Vegas Dads Help Raiders Get Comfortable Sports Betting." That one's different from the Reno Gazette. This one is ESPN. All right, but both of them taken together point to more evidence that the Raiders went behind the back of Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, and the process had started before she became mayor of Oakland in 2014. So putting together the timelines from both of those articles, we find that, first of all, in the summer of 2014 was when Davis first considered Las Vegas, and Eric Grubman told him, "You're not going to get that passed through the ownership." And then he met later that fall with Napoleon McCallum. This is fall of 2014, I believe in November, all right, with Napoleon McCallum, former Raider. And McCallum told him, hey, now there's some other stuff going on between that. And here's why I say that. First of all, Davis mentioned Las Vegas to Grubman, all right? Then, and I got it. Davis mentioned Las Vegas to Grubman. Prior to that, McCallum mentioned Las Vegas to Davis. That was before the summer. So then the summer, Davis mentioned Las Vegas to Grubman. Then Davis again met with McCallum later in the fall. And McCallum said that he should talk with UNLV President Lynn Jessup. Now remember, Napoleon McCallum works for Sheldon Adelson. All right? So McCallum went to set up that meeting. Now, while all that's going on, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, when she became mayor, which was November, election day of 2014, she called me 3 weeks later wanting advice on how to best work with Mark Davis. Mayor Schaaf is my god sister. And I told her that her objective should be to make the owner of the Raiders her hand-in-hand business partner moving forward. That's what I said. I said, if you go to the Raider office, or if they come to you, whatever the venue, make sure you sit on the same side of the table symbolically as he. All right. So while Libby was talking, not just to me, but other people, and trying to arrange her meeting with Mark Davis had set his sights preliminarily on Las Vegas. Now, while he was working on Las Vegas, he had Mark Bedane and his other staffers and consultants working on Carson. Okay? Both behind the scenes working on both Carson and Oakland. So the idea in Oakland, remember in Oakland, we were in the middle of an exclusive negotiating agreement. Floyd Gephardt was already involved in that. So what does that mean, folks? It means very sinisterly that the Raiders had violated the exclusive negotiating agreement with Floyd Gephardt in the city of Oakland. There's a lot of mess here, okay? A lot of mess. And one key example of how messy this is a comment that wound up in this ESPN article. Actually, it's a heading. It goes, "A meeting kept secret for 3 years." And it says campus police were stationed outside the Greystone building. They were at the UNLV International Gaming Research Center, and 2 floors up from that. All right. And he says, he goes on to say that February 2015 meeting at the Gaming Research Center was the first between UNLV and the Raiders. All right. So there's actually 3. This is a February. Okay, this is really good because this is a February 2015 meeting, right? That's February 2015. Then he doesn't list the date. Then Aubrey Clerkin that's February 2015. Yeah. So this is really good. February 2015 meeting took place there. And it said that happened a year before Davis appeared in a picture with Sheldon Adelson, because January 28, 2016 was when Davis went in earnest to meet with Las Vegas Sands Adelson and not McCallum, his community affairs representative, right? So we've got summer of 2014, a date before that, and then the fall with Napoleon McCallum, and then 2015, February, this meeting at UNLV. He had set it up where he said he was sitting with both parties. They were trying to keep that meeting secret. Now, note the reason why they're trying to keep the meeting secret, and it says here, says at the time the Raiders focused on Los Angeles or finding a way to stay in Oakland. But see, in Oakland, he had an exclusive negotiating agreement. The question is, did the exclusive negotiating agreement allow Davis to negotiate with someone to relocate from Oakland? The Raiders' argument would undoubtedly be, hey, we were only talking with Gephardt about building a stadium in Oakland. But no one signs an exclusive negotiating agreement with the idea that you're going to go behind their back and negotiate to build a new stadium to leave. The whole point of the exclusive negotiating agreement with the developer is to keep the organization in Oakland. So this is a violation of the ENA. Why, if it wasn't a violation of the ENA, the Raiders would feel no reason, would have no reason, would not craft a reason to keep this secret, yet they kept it secret. This is explosive. This says, I sent this thing around, okay? I meant to I'll write my own article later because I want to spell it out for people, but this is bad stuff. This is bad stuff. This is behind the back of the mayor of Oakland, all right? And it's in the collective face of what we call the East Bay entities. That is the city of Oakland, the county of Alameda, BART, AC Transit, everyone else that's impacted, right? Okay. And so Black Lion Supreme says, well, what are the hurts? It doesn't seem like Oakland. It seems like Oakland. Well, actually, it seems to me like the Raiders don't want Oakland. Because, again, the difference between the Raiders in Oakland and the Raiders in Carson, or for that matter, the Raiders in less so in San Antonio, but the Raiders in Carson and splitting the costs with San Diego, the Chargers, is that in both, let me put it this way, in both those examples, the Raiders put money into creating an artist rendition and a video of how they wanted the stadium to look. No one has ever seen anything from the Raiders with respect to how they wanted the stadium to look, a stadium to look in Oakland. Never. Okay? Never. It's as if Mark Davis considered the Raiders being in Oakland some sort of curse or less than. Mark Davis comes off like he doesn't like Oakland. All right? So just comes off like that. So these are events that happen. And again, this ESPN article lays it out. So does the Reno Gazette Journal article. Those two together, along with past information I put together and others, spell a complete and clear, I mean, crystal clear example of how Oakland was basically not dealt with in good faith. There is no arguing that. Oakland has a better case for a lawsuit by far than St. Louis does. I mean, this is egregious in our face. Now I'm going to go a step further, okay? I believe, all right, that Sheldon Adelson and Mark Davis made up this public spat. I don't think it was real. Because consider this. If Adelson had been mentioned in the lease and everything else, okay, and it just happened to sort of leak out, right, suspiciously, the NFL would not have voted to allow the Raiders to take that deal with Adelson. Goodell was on record as not backing an organization that had gambling ties. He said that to me on video. He said it before. So no. But here we have this. I mean, this all looks awful. It's just, this doesn't look like conspiracy theory. This looks like conspiracy fact. The Reno Gazette Journal article has a timeline that involves a number of heavy hitters in Nevada, starting with retiring Senator Harry Reid, Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval, Clark County commissioners, gambling powers, Steve Wynn, Jim Murin of MGM. I mean, all the right people were involved in this power value chain, that's what I call it, to get the Raiders to Las Vegas, all of them. It doesn't make it right, okay? It doesn't make it right. Black Lion, let's see here. Desmond Davis says, Mark Davis doesn't want to compete in the Bay Area. He is intimidated with having the responsibility of, I don't know what's in Mark's head that way. And I don't think that's it at all. I really believe that he believes that, first of all, I'm only going with what I see from Mark. And in the very limited interactions I've had with him, I see a person who strives to be just simple. And I won't say who said this, but what I was told by this person who worked with Mark Davis, who is of the NFL, is that Mark understands very simple transactions. The person who said this didn't mean to be insulting. He was trying to be honest. And that comment explained why Fortress Drew McKnight at the last minute basically said, hey, Bank of America is going to give them a loan. We can give them a loan too. And that's when I was saying, Drew, don't mimic their deal because it'll make it seem like you have a flimsy deal. Stick to your deal and its techniques. Don't do this. It's like, hey, I got a tool here. Hey, I got a tool there. You know what I mean? But that's what he did at the last minute. Bad idea. So just plain bad idea. So this is bad. The only question is, what will the city and the county do next? Because really, this should not come from the fan base. It should come from the city and the county. Because the city and the county have been obviously wronged on more than one occasion, and particularly the mayor of Oakland. So this isn't a matter of, well, like someone was saying the other day, an elected official said to me the other day, I support the Forever Oakland effort, which is really the We Stand for Oakland effort. I don't care. The bottom line is the city and the county should join forces and move forward. It just, okay, it really is. And so Crawford says, David wants a glitzy glamour lifestyle. He feels that the Bay Area does not fit his presence of living. And Crawford, that sticks out. I mean, he's got a house in Palm Springs, Vegas. So yeah, he's that kind of guy. But my point is this, he can live that life and leave the Raiders in Oakland. Why does he have to take the Raiders with him? Okay. Not every CEO, in fact, he's not the CEO of the organization. Mark Bedane is, which underscores the point. You can be an owner that doesn't live in your area. Perhaps he feels that he has to be one. Perhaps this is part of an overarching NFL strategy of localizing its owners. I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, Stan Kroenke, well, no, Stan Kroenke is another example. Stan Kroenke is not really an LA guy at all. I mean, he's got property there, but Stan Kroenke's got property everywhere. When I think of Stan Kroenke, I think of a cattle rancher. I don't really think of a guy who's an LA guy who's, hanging out in Hollywood and stuff like that. It's a money play for him. Okay. So, it's a money play. Lonely on Top asks, I wonder how Al Davis would feel about all of this. That's a really great question. I think, I'm not going to pretend to answer for Mr. Davis at all, because he came back to Oakland. But I'm going to issue a hypothesis. I think he would say, let's give Oakland an honest shot before we do anything, because we won here. I believe he would say that. Okay? I really believe it. And given that, I think the closest view you're going to get to what Al Davis might have thought is how John Gruden is approaching this, even as head coach. John Gruden worked for Al Davis at a time when, Mark Davis wasn't paying attention, to the extent that he is now, right? And what did Gruden consistently say before he signed the contract? Hey, basically, I think we're better off in Oakland. So there's your Al Davis answer right there. Okay. Beth Blair asks, if the city of Oakland won't follow through with a lawsuit, what if anything, if anything, be done? Well, look, anyone can file a lawsuit for any reason. I think that's the best situation, because I believe, well, I don't have to say I believe, the evidence shows that the city was consistently lied to. There's no other way to put it. I mean, look, I'm reading this. It says, and I quote, it says, I can't help but read this again and again and again and again and again and again. And the subheadline reads, and I follow, and I say, a meeting kept secret for 3 years. A meeting kept secret for 3 years. A meeting kept secret for 3 years. I think it's better to just put this in quotes like that. You see that? Look at that right down there in the chat area. A meeting kept secret for 3 years. Wild. And John Marks says, Zinni, I think Al Davis wanted to come back to Oakland because he wanted to recapture the mystique. He did. Black Lion Supreme says, Al Davis would be outraged. He brought the Raiders back because he understood that no city had the love for the Raiders like Oakland. And then Desmond Davis says, how can you leave a market from Monterey to north of Sacramento for Las Vegas? It boggles my mind. Mine too. And what I'd love to see is, an idea. What I would love to see, love to see it, is the presentation that the Raiders made and their take on how they think they're going to be able to capture the Vegas market. Now, given what I read regarding the schedule, the governor, all those meetings with casino people, the question that I have is, okay, with all these power players involved, and now the Raiders are there, who's going to step up? And it's one thing for those power players to be involved. Then there's the price tag. Okay, then there's the price tag. All right. Malcontent says, how do we get the attention of the city and the county on this legal issue? Email more than once. I do. Crawford says, Al Davis acknowledged his mistakes. He made it back in the early 1980s and returned home. I don't know what you mean by that. Crawford. I think maybe you meant the late 1990s. But whatever. So I wish the old man had a different plan with the inheritance and gave the majority to Carol or someone else. Yeah. Thomas Beltran says, I don't even want the city and the county to spend any more money on this. Okay. John Mark says he agrees with that, I guess. Dean Willie says Amy Trask would have been the best person. I agree with that. I think Amy and Libby would really hit it off. Nothing out of that, we would have had something special. Dean Willie says Crawford 371, Amy Trask. Yeah. Only type says Vegas debt. I don't know what that means though. All right. But that's how. Yeah, it completely does boggle the mind. But again, it's up to the city and the county. CCIG Tiger Rugby won 45-5 in Hong Kong Sevens rugby action. CCIG Tiger Rugby is sponsored by California Commercial Investments in Oakland. All right. John Mark says, how can we fix this, Zinni? Complain. I mean, like Crawford just posted in the response, keep pressuring the city and the county on this. One of you out there, I think it was Malcontent, sent me an email with the information, and I think what I'll do is I'll take his email, I'll put it on an email with all of you, since most of you are investors, and you'll have that information to pass on, okay? But what I'll do is I'll flesh it out in a new blog post, okay? So that you're not hoping that someone reads an ESPN article and digs for the right information themselves. That wouldn't be fair. Crawford says, guys, this is far from over. Yep. And Crawford says, we need to hear from Russell and Godfather on this. Well, you know, my take is this. I think rather than making this a media play, like get this person on your show, get that person on your show, what seriously has to happen is several things. First of all, regarding that whole loan issue, the JPA needs to meet, closed session perhaps, and they need to fashion a plan for the appropriate resolution on paper of the loan issue that fits with legal precedent. What I mean by that is there's a $64 million so-called non-recourse loan, which really isn't. It's really a payment, as the California Supreme Court correctly recognized, that went to the NFL. What the Joint Powers Authority needs to do is put on paper they have a strategy to get that back, and the reasons why. And the reason why they need to do that is because if they don't get that cemented, that's going to come back to haunt them in a court situation. It would look like they're going about this unstructured. It's like, well, excuse me, you don't have a plan to get this back, and suddenly you're filing the suits, and maybe you were negligent to begin with, right? They got to clean that up. The JPA has to clean up the appearance that, not just for years, but for decades, it has been mismanaged. Now, Scott McKibben came in, same 2014 year, the Raiders started snooping around Vegas. All right. And so Black Lion says, this is a personal war. No, it's not a personal war between the mayor of Oakland and Mark Davis. It's not a personal war because Libby, I'll tell you this. The mayor of Oakland never had a beef with Mark Davis. Okay? Mark Davis was the person. In fact, this is how it started out. Libby's parents have been longtime season ticket holders. And if any one of you regularly go to the games, you may remember that her parents were feted by the Raiders and Mark Bedane. They're on the field and all that. Now, they started doing that in 2015. 2014, 2015, okay? And actually late 2014, yeah, after Libby became mayor. That's when it started. But think about it. The Raiders were, in the case of Mark Bourdain, they were feting Libby's parents as they were working behind her back. Think about it. It's pretty dastardly, isn't it? And then after Libby made the comment that she made two comments that bothered the Raiders in the media. First, no public money. And Libby made the mistake of making it appear as if she was going to carry on a negotiation through the media. That was a mistake. No question about it. And then she made another comment that baseball was more valuable economically than football because of the number of games. Well, that might be true in theory, but the actual practice, because of baseball attendance in our situation, doesn't fit that. And then within that, it made it look like Libby was already making a choice in her head that she didn't want NFL football in Oakland anymore. And then some people said, oh, she's got a race problem because, NFL football is a black sport. Basketball is a black sport. Major League Baseball is considered a white sport. And so she was making a choice between a white sport and a black sport. That's how it was broken down by some folks. That's how I looked at it. So those were the errors that she made. And then she said something to the effect of the Raiders pounding sand. But again, this was through the media. Now, I was told by a source, and I can't say who that was, but I was told that the Raiders had the comments that she made posted on their walls, and that they referred to her in words that were unkind. I do have an email that would seem to fit that. In fact, hold on a second. Let me see if I can dig that up. Thomas Beltran says, Z, did you hear this? Elon Musk made a bid for the Coliseum land for a soccer field. I don't think it was Elon Musk, was it? I thought it was, no. I think you're mixing your news up. But let me check on that. I don't want to say that you're wrong and it turned out that you're right. So I have to check on that. Let me do one thing at a time. And so Desmond Davis says, well, wait a minute. John Mark says, maybe Libby Schaaf needs to get her attorneys involved and sue the Raiders. You think? Desmond Davis says, with the NFL letting the Raiders move, or are they creating potential problems with the haves and the have-nots with the owners? The 49ers will be a power because they will own Bakersfield to Reading. There's a lot of truth to that. I mean, I can't see here's what I see. I don't see the 49ers bleeding into the Raider area at all, except for viewers, right? Television. And that may very well be what the NFL wants because of the whole issue of eyeballs and rights fees. So the idea going forward may be, hey, look, we can gain better rights fees if just the 49ers are there rather than the 49ers are Raiders. I don't agree with that theory, but it wouldn't surprise me if that perception wasn't at play. Okay, it would not surprise me one bit. And so, it wouldn't surprise me. Let me see here. Now, the other question is, given that it looks like Mark Davis is adopting a scorched earth policy, and as I understand, at least as of now, the Raiders have not given a response still to the JPA. I'll double check that regarding their JPA's offer of sky-high rent. Given all that, where will the Raiders play next year? Okay. They will still need a place to play. The stadium won't be ready, and the stadium may very well not be ready for 2020. What are they going to do? Okay. Desmond Davis says, John Mark's debate. What? Black Lion says yes, and as she did what you are saying, what do you think Mark Davis felt about it? Uh, Mark may not have liked it, but my whole point, and did Libby make a mistake? Yeah. But she also is the mayor. And something else that was really at play in this whole deal is, I mean, first of all, Libby laid out an edict about what she wanted. If a guy had done that, I'm just going to say this. I really don't believe that the Raiders would have had a fit or had a baby like they did in this case. When she asserted herself, okay, then the Raiders began to act a little petulant. Like, oh, how dare you? Well, she's the mayor of Oakland. And you should treat the mayor with a proper deference. It's not the other way around. And I think that's the one lesson that should come of this is, look, elected officials are chosen by the people. They represent the collective will of the people. Mayor Schaaf is the city of Oakland's mayor. She represents the collective will of the people. The Raiders should respect that. Instead, the Raiders not only have not referred to her properly, they have also, on occasions where she's personally told me, they have not returned her phone calls. All right? They have not returned at all. Not returned phone calls, okay? They just haven't. So trying to I'm looking back through my emails to find this find this email, okay? Hold on a second. That's not it. It's good if I can find it. I'm not finding it yet. Let's see here. Follow up. Okay. I don't see that. No, just don't see it. I have to. Wow. I thought it was a forward, but it's not. Maybe not. Don't see it. Don't see it. Don't see it. Don't see it. Ah, here we go. I believe I found it. All right. All right. This goes like this. I'm not going to say who it's from or who it's to. But, all right, it says, not going to comment. All right, look. The question, this is from a Raider person. It says, not going to comment. This is from a Raider person to the media. Not going to comment on the record about that. The fans are great. They need a great place to see us play our games. We can't get anything done here. We've tried for 8 years. She, referring to Mayor Schaaf, wants the A's. She picked them. She wanted them. She told us to pound sand. Her public comments are not reflective of how she treated us since taking office. Okay? That was October 14th of 2016. So the wheels were already in motion. They're already fashioning their escape hatch. They're already ginning themselves up to get angry at the Raiders for, or finding any little thing, right? And they're still doing that now, right? And the question back to is still also curious to know how the team feels about the impact this is having on Bay Area fans. They're excited about the team's winning ways, but now it looks like the team is poised to move. They're concerned, many upset. Reaction? And the response back was, we will coordinate it. And the response back was, this is pretty interesting. Should we reach out to someone other than you for it? And the response back by the Raider person was, assume so. And it says, hey, blank, Will the team be releasing a statement on the stadium vote in Nevada? Nothing there. All right. But I'm going to repeat to you, this is the key message. This is Friday, October 14th, 2016 at 1:38 p.m. And it goes, 2:10 p.m. Friday, October 14th, 2016. All right. And the restatement, says, the question to this person was, also curious to know how the team feels about the impact this is having on Bay Area fans. They're excited about the team's winning ways, but now it looks like the team is poised to move. They're concerned. Many upset reaction. And then the reaction back was not going to comment on the record about that. The fans are great. They need a great place to see us play our games. We can't get anything done here. We've tried for 8 years. Now think about this. First, this said, we tried for 8 years, and the Bourdain says to Las Vegas people, this has been decades in the making. Brother. Okay? We can't get anything done here. We've tried for 8 years. She wants the A's. Talking about Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf. She picked them. She wanted them. She told us to pound sand. Her public comments are not reflective of how she treated us since taking office. Now, this is a statement from an organization that all the time has been working behind her back in the first place. So you see how they engineer this stuff? It's bad, man. That's bad, man. They just said, that's bad, all right? As Crawford just wrote here, couldn't get anything done for 8 years. They never tried. They lied in the weeds until the time was right to play the blame game. Yep. And Yelcom says the mayor, Supervisor Haggerty, and McKibben should have called Davis to a meeting with this offer. Well, actually, Eric, they did. And the Raiders have not responded. I was even sent to deliver a message to Orlando. John Mark says, Mark Davis lied, he never tried. And Uric says, I don't read that one. Anyway, I don't know what that says. And I don't know what that says either. Malcontent says, long before, since I don't know these other people, I'm going to deal with the people that I know. Long before 10/14, October 14, 2016, the Raiders were already planning to leave in Oakland. Yep, they were. Their fallacious cherry-picking comments. That's right. That's right. They were fallacious and cherry-picking comments. That's right. Joseph Jones says it wouldn't have metered. You wrote metered. What do you mean? Mattered? It would have mattered who the mayor was. Davis wanted nothing to do with Oakland. Right. But the whole point is, again, Joseph, these are serious contractual issues. In 2014, during 2014, there was an active, exclusive negotiating agreement. I'm going to go back and get that document and read it. There was an active, exclusive negotiating agreement with Floyd Kephart. Okay? Active. And the Raiders, for all practical purposes, were violating that by holding a number of meetings they wanted to be kept secret, according to ESPN. Secret. All right? That's all I need to know right there. That's in black and white, man. It's in black and white. Okay? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Zenny62. I hope you're taking notes, because there's a problem here. It's a big, fat problem, okay? Crawford says, and don't forget the registered website address. I could care less. You know what? Davis could do, you know what? Who's to say he didn't do a registered website address for San Antonio or for Alaska or Outer Mongolia? All right? Heck, do you know what a registered website address is? It's a URL, a uniform resource locator. Anybody can do that. I could have done with the Las Vegas Raiders. Doggone it. You know? Could do a hybrid. So freaking what? So freaking what? 32 Assassin says, will Oakland seek to get its money back? John, you tell me what they should do. Because right now, I don't know. You tell me. Nothing's been found. This is all talk. You tell me what they should do. 32 Assassin. What do you think they should do? What would you like to see the city of Oakland do? John Mark says, there will be a quiz after the live stream. Joseph Jones says, I believe there was a smoke screen to make it look like they were trying to do something in Oakland while planning to leave anyway. It was. You think? You think? All right? You think? Okay? You think? Jackhammer wants to keep the name and colors instead of money. Okay? Yurki Elton wants, he says, if after 1 year we don't get a deal done, we will publicly agree with the organization that negotiations are not resolvable and fully support the organization finding another home market. Bullshit. Unless you're saying that's what should have been done before, in which case I completely agree with you. But to say that right now, forget it. After years, 2014, 15, 16, 17, now 18, right? After years of bad faith negotiations, now you want to forget it. No way. No. You know what the thing is from the Fantastic Four? You know what the thing used to say? Hey, it's 43 people. Hope everybody's watching. Do you know what the thing used to say? It's clobbering time. Legally, it's clobbering time. It really is. I have never seen a more clear-cut case for a lawsuit in sports relocation history than this. There is nothing in sports that is as clear-cut as this. Nothing. This is obvious, and it's in the face, the collective face of the city of Oakland and Alameda County. It's bad, man. It's bad, okay? It's bad. It's bad. Malcontent says there are clear legal claims. The Oakland Raiders Limited Partnership negotiated in bad faith. They did. Yep. They did. Okay. They did. They did. Okay. And, let's see here. All right. They did. They pure and simple did. Okay. Crawford says the Raiders have to be the dumbest organization in the history of sports. They can't even cover up a scheme. No, quite obviously can't. Not at all. Crawford says, Jack, get the brand, money, or an expansion team guarantee. I like it. Hey, Crawford, I'll see you out. All right, man. Yeah, it's almost 2 o'clock. Yeah, I'm going to head out myself in a bit. At the Masters, Tiger Woods, but not soon. Just 45 of you on. How can I let all of you go? Welcome. Oh, 44. Oh, that was Crawford. Okay. Oh, Yurt says yes, before. Oh, before. Okay. So basically, Yurt, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, you're saying that I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right in that instance. In other words, it should have been open. It should have been an open process. The Raiders should have been clear about what they wanted and given all parties notice, time to respond. That's the way you do. That's the way you do business with people. Okay. Maurice Keith says Supreme Court rules in favor of sports betting. Mark Davis wins Zen. Well, I think you're kind of wrong there. Supreme Court hasn't issued a ruling yet, but here's the thing. I think they will. This is the internet age, and you don't know this, but when we started Dan Rasher Sport the sport manager program at the University of San Francisco and we started sports business simulations. We were approached by a gentleman, I'm not going to leave his name out of this, who wanted us to convert the game that I made, which is around, it was originally called the Oakland Athletics Micro World, based on a system dynamics model of the athletics that I made. And I still very well just may launch again. Anyway, but I digress. And this man wanted us to install a betting component. In other words, if you ran the A's correctly and you won a World Series, you won money. So it wasn't just for the classroom. It was also for sport betting, okay? Why do I mention that, aside from the fact that I'm very proud of what I created? At that time, sport betting laws were not as mature. And I told Dan, and Dan agreed. I said, you know what? If we do this, we'll wind up in jail. This was 2000. He approached us in 2005. I said, if we do this, we'll wind up in jail. So we elected not to do it. In retrospect, I believe I was a little too neurotic. And given that the market study for our company had forecast a $122 million annual revenue potential, I think I should have shifted gears and tried it. But look, I'm trying to be an honest broker, okay? Didn't want to do the wrong thing. And you have to remember something. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, right? So I tried to learn every aspect of that law. But again, it's the internet. So my point is, locality matters none. In fact, the states that'll benefit most from the Supreme Court ruling, it's not Nevada. Do you know which state among them will benefit? One of the states that will benefit the most? California. So if anything, the Raiders could have kept their tail in Oakland and still reap the benefits if the Supreme Court goes ding, which they haven't officially done yet, okay? Good night, everybody. Black Lion says Atlanta didn't wait for the Falcons to come. They just got the job done. Yeah, but Black Lion, the difference is that I think you had that in reverse. The Falcons initiated the designs for the stadium, not Atlanta. The Falcons showed a true respect for Atlanta and Mayor Kasim Reed. It was a rough patch, but they got rid of it. They got over it quickly, okay? Malcontent says, apparently Davis and Bedane don't care about the word exclusive in the title of the ENA with the city and the county. That much is obvious. You know what bothers me about that? After Davis told me to come up with my proposal, and then we were in Schaumburg at the NFL owners meeting, and I ran, and Mark Bedane and I wound up getting on the elevator together. He was on this side, I was on this side. I looked at Mark, and Mark did this. He didn't look at me directly. It wasn't, hey, Zenny, how you doing? It was more like this. It was like, I kid you not, okay? And I looked over and I told him about the deal, and he goes, well, we're in an ENA. If it mattered to them, plus the fact that the mayor's my god sister, and I could say, hey, look, let's get the mayor on the phone and talk in secret. In secret, I could have had Piper Jaffray investment bankers and Diane Paulway, the managing director, right on the doorstep of the Raiders. One of the best investment banking companies in the world. So, all right. Maurice Keith, with the reasoned comments, he writes, I'm saying it opens up casino money the Raiders will go after. The luxury boxes filled with tables who's sponsored by casinos, that's all a guess. Here's the point. First of all, again, the casinos are in the Bay Area. And there's analysis after analysis that you should read. Not can read, should read, since you brought it up, that point to other states other than Nevada as having the advantage over Nevada. When I see that Supreme Court decision, you know what I see? I see the further reduction of Vegas market share in casinos because of that. That's what I see. You see one thing, I see another. I see a number of, heck, you realize how huge this would be for women's sports? To finance women's sports? Ooh. Betting on, professional tennis with greats like Serena. Woo. There's a lot of potential, and because it's betting, you think it has to do with Vegas, but it really doesn't. And for a lot of the same reasons that are causing Vegas to lose its visitor count numbers, which will hurt the Raiders' stadium bond issue. Well, 9 months straight of losses year to year. Okay. So, Eric Guerrero, how are you? I'm hanging in there, man. It's been an emotional week. Who's your daddy? Said, who was the one vote against the Raiders at the last NFL meeting? You mean the relocation meeting? That was last year. That was Stephen Ross, Dolphins. And Crawford says Vegas will be in trouble if the courts open it up for everybody. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Free for all. Whee! Malconton says, but Mark Badane's elevator comment made sense if they never really wanted a stadium solution in Oakland, right? It was just another fallacious argument. But see, malcontent for me, it was also a waste of my time to have Mark Davis ask me to do it. Okay? Mark Badane could have called me because I called him and says, you know what, Zinni? We apologize. This is not the direction we're going to go in. Instead, I had to hear that from Eric Grubman saying they're not interested in your plan. Way after the fact, okay? And I had to pursue him. It wasn't in the Raiders. When I saw Mark Davis at the Schaumburg NFL owners meeting in August, when I said I had $2 billion for him out of the plan, right? He could have told me right then and there, I don't want to go in that direction. Here's what I want to do. But you see, they were so busy trying to keep the whole Vegas thing in secret, in addition to the whole Carson deal, all right, that they were so far down the pipe that didn't even happen. Instead, what did Davis do? He acted like he was afraid to talk to me. He could have said, hey, let's come up to the room. Let's talk about this. Didn't do that. He could have said, and I've said this before, he could have said, hey, I may not want to do this, but there are elements in your deal that I may want to use elsewhere because I like it. Is that okay? That's cool. Hey, that's what I would appreciate, that kind of exchange. Didn't get it. The man asked me to do that. It's documented. Mike Silver, my longtime friend going back to when we were at Cal, put that on Twitter. I was there a moment of Zinni. Okay? All right. Let's see here. DNATS, he says, do you think Mark Davis will open a casino in Vegas? Oh, I have no idea. What do you think? Malcontent says fake due diligence. I like that's the term of the night. We're fake everything. Fake news, fake tatooties, fake due diligence. There are 47 people on here. Welcome to Zinni 62, everybody. And it is 2:05 in the morning. That's great. That means everybody wants to hear what I have to say. And here's the thing. Most of you are not typing, so I don't know who most of you are. I'm glad you are here. Welcome to Zinni 62. These are serious times. Very serious. Very serious. Now, the other thing that needs to happen is the organizations Forever Oakland, We Stand for Oakland, stay in Oakland. They all needed to draw together as one. Stop the bickering, stop the who's got a bigger ego thing. Start really acting as one powerful unit. And the reason I say that is because the enemy of the Raiders' actions is a solidified and active Oakland Raider fan base. Keep that in mind. But when these folks are arguing among themselves, hey, you know what? That stuff gets out. And the people who are Raider fans in places like Toronto, Canada, or parts of Orange County, they love that. All right? They love it. Crawford says PF changes that. Oh, PF Chang's first. Oh, got it. I don't like making fun of Mark Davis. I don't. And I don't like making fun of anybody. I've said that. I get no charge out of that. It actually makes me very sad. You should never in life think it's okay to make fun of somebody because you disagree with something they do. Okay. Maurice Keith says they never wanted a solution in Oakland. They washed their hands of the idea long ago, claiming to deal with Oakland in private, yet publicly throwing money at other cities. Correctly and elegantly put. Rocky Madden Mobile says you have a bunch of yes men and biased administrators. I guess you're referring to the Raiders. You have to be. Uric says even if all the groups gathered together, they would not move the needle unless the city or county take action. Now, Uric, I kind of disagree with you. The best scenario is for the city and the county to take action. That's the best scenario. But it does not preclude the effectiveness, the potential effectiveness of a Raider fan lawsuit. It doesn't preclude that, okay? This is so sad. You know, Mark Davis could stop all this. He could have, a long time ago, stopped it. He could have made this a smooth transition. But hey, they don't want to do it that way. They want to, it seems like they want to piss people off. People are not supposed to dance to your tune. That's just not the way it works. They have to be brought along. You have to convince them. Okay? Black Lion says the first time the Raiders moved to Oakland, fought everything they had to keep the Raiders in Oakland. Fought with everything they had to keep the Raiders in Oakland. I don't get that comment. Can you repeat that one? Yerk says if the city or county take action, then it becomes real. And the messages from the group will make a difference. Now, you know what? You're absolutely right. You're 1 billion% right. You're completely correct about that. And that's what you want to have happen. You know what it's like? If that happens, it's like the Thing in the Fantastic Four. It's clobbering time. Remember that? That's what it would be. Especially the way St. Louis is going. Ooh, bro. Ooh. Let me put it this way. This effort will make St. Louis look like a kiddie law corpse exercise. That's how much better a case Oakland has than St. Louis. Okay? All right? That's how much better. Straight out. Straight out. Straight out. Okay? Straight out. All right? Straight out. Eric Guerrero says, should one feel like giving up on the NFL as a whole? No. I'm going to tell you where I'm coming from. And it's going to sound really arrogant to some of you. There's almost 50 of you. I feel I represent the classic NFL shield. I've known Commissioner Goodell since what, 1996, when I was instructed to call him by Al Cassell. That's right, Al Davis' right hand at the time. The classic NFL does not mix sports and gambling. It doesn't do it. I'm very old school about that. And so in that context, what the Raiders, it would seem, are threatening to do, I feel, is immoral. That is exactly how I look at it. And I feel it's the gladiators, it's the owners of the gladiators betting on the slaves. I don't like that. I'm sorry. That's just how it looks to me. Okay? That's how it looks to me. And I think Roger is very concerned. He's playing along. But I know for a fact he doesn't like what's happening. And I'm telling you, I don't either. And that's why, if you go back to the NFL Spring League meeting of 2016 in Charlotte, where I put it to the question to Commissioner Goodell about the Raiders going behind the city of Oakland's back, I asked him, are the Raiders going off the range? What I meant by that is the NFL has a line. Owners have expectations. The John Maras of the world, the Stephen Rosses of the world, they don't want that to happen. Okay? Steve Tisches of the world, they don't want that to happen. But you had this renegade group, and led by Jerry Jones to aid Mark Davis, right, in Vegas. And as Jerry Jones personally told me, at that same meeting, no, actually, no, it was that fall in Houston, I apologize, that Jerry Jones looked me straight in the eye and said that Sheldon Adelson, excuse me, will make a great NFL owner. He said that. Okay. That tells you all you need to know about who is trying to do what. Okay. So, let's see here. I don't know. Let's see here. If the city and the county take action, then becomes real. I got that one. Eric Herrera says, should one feel like giving up? No. Let's see here. Rocky Mountain Mobile says there's no fairness here in these conversations with your biased administrators. Sorry. I mean, I don't look, if you have a question or point to make it intellectually. You can be for Vegas and make an intellectual point, but the trouble is that people who come here to do this, first of all, they don't use their name. Second of all, it generally tends to be the same person again and again and again with different names, sometimes stupid names. And third, what they have to say is taunting and not informative. There's nothing informative. I mean, you know what? In all this time, I haven't heard anybody explain the Raider case for the expectation of success in Vegas from a clinical perspective, one that doesn't involve taunting somebody. In other words, one that isn't respectful, that says, hey, the Bay Area has this, but then folks, here's what the Raiders are thinking. You know what I mean? Nothing mature. So after a while, I just got tired. It's like, you know what? Forget it. Because if you're not going to offer something mature and respectful, then I don't have to see it. This is my channel. If you don't like that, I'm sorry. Well, no, I'm not sorry. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm way not sorry. I'm way not sorry. Okay. Now we've got Malcontent says, let's please try to take the emotion out of this. What's the best economic solution for the people of Oakland and Alameda County? That's a great question. And Joseph Bensman says, Rocky, try to make a point or get out. You don't know anyone here. There you go. Okay. Rocky Mountain says, I stated my case already. Actually, you didn't. Malcontent says, right, Z, pro Las Vegas doesn't have to be anti-Oakland. It doesn't. And that's what I'm saying. The people who are pro Las Vegas, they're just people who like to just pick, they're immature in their behavior. And I would prefer, like I made a comment about Guy Hobbs of Hobbs-Ong, class act. There are a number of people in Vegas who are not on this who are class acts. You guys are not them. You're not behaving as class acts. So why should I give you a voice on my channel? I'm not going to. Next. Now, again, I'm dying to see someone who has something sensible to say. Okay? So, all right. So my point is, let's see here. There. All right. Now, okay. Dean Willie says, I'm pro Las Vegas getting their own team. And Black Lion says, they don't have a case. That's why we haven't heard from them. 32 Assassins, older Oakland Raiders fans are twice burned. Roll on, you Bears. Yeah, roll on, you Bears. Wow. Yeah, twice burned. Although this time it's sort of numb. It's kind of like, you know what? Because the reason is that this time they did us wrong far worse than the other time. The other time, Al Davis, he was straight up about what he wanted. I remember that. The Raiders wanted $54 million in new luxury boxes in the Coliseum. But here was the problem. They didn't want to help pay for it. They wanted the public to pay for it. And then they didn't want to do a 10-year lease. They wanted a 2-year lease. So the Raiders wanted their boxes, but they wanted freedom to move. You can't have your cake and eat it too. But the point is that Al at least was in your face about what he wanted. Look, I want this, or I'm going there. Because he was convinced that the pay-per-view market in Los Angeles, kind of like this casino deal now, was really going to be lucrative. And that is why I say that Mark Davis is making a calculated mistake. The casino law liberalization will favor states that have bigger markets, and it could fundamentally ruin Las Vegas. There's an old saying, be careful what you ask for, you may often get it, to which I add this: you may not be ready for what comes from it. All right? Black Lion says, that's what I said, go Cal Bears. Luxury boxes, yep. 32 Assassin says, LA promised the boxes, they did, and they never delivered. That was the LA County Commission, which, like a lot of these organizations in California, well, everywhere, have their own interesting brand of politics, don't they? If he happens to be watching, which I doubt, I want to say congratulations to Stephen Hill. Regardless, class act, another class act, okay? Meeting the next Stadium Authority meeting is April 12th. People, keep watching the stadium hotel tax revenue numbers. Don't take your eyes off them. Don't take your eyes off the municipal bond rate for a AA bond at 30 years. Right now it's 3.2%. It was 3.25, so they got a little bit of a break, a few basis points. Keep your eye on that. The higher it goes, the worse it gets. The Raiders should play, it doesn't go higher. The other question is this: will we have 10 straight months of visitor losses in Las Vegas, where, in this case, March was not as good as the March before, which happened to be the month that brought in $5 million in hotel stadium tax revenue money, the highest to date? Those are the things to watch out for. Those are the things to watch out for. 32 Assassin says the Raiders are going to get a new stadium in LA. but the NFL wanted the Raiders to take a second team to share it with them. Yeah, that's the problem. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Crawford. And Eric Guerrera says, also didn't help that Mr. Davis lived in the LA area. Mrs. Davis. Mrs. Davis? Does his mom live in the LA area? I thought she still lived on Mountain in Oakland. Anyway, this is the largest, most expensive stadium that will be occupied by a single NFL team in history. Do you realize that? I mean, let's do the math real quick. Let's do the not the math. Let's do a countdown real quick. You got MetLife Stadium, Jets and Giants, right? When it was finished, it was the most expensive. Remember that? That was 2012. Okay, 1.6 billion, right? A little less than that was Libby Stadium at 1.4 billion for the Niners, but it was less than that. But even then, Jed York was happy to open the door to the Raiders and share the stadium with the Raiders. Remember that? But in Vegas, you have one team. One team. And what that means is that instead of having two teams that could put in a billion, you have the Raiders saying, okay, we'll add 500 million, right? And then you have another, and that's it. Now, it sort of does beg the question, though, would the NFL allow two teams to divide the loan pie like that? And my question would be, well, why not? Because you have two separate game schedules, two separate schedules for the payback of the loan over a period of X years. So it seemed logical that the NFL would have allowed two teams to say, I've got two loans, two NFL G4 loans, right? You have one PSL payment, but you can divide that. But the bottom line is, with respect to the NFL, two teams would get you 400 million in the loan for one stadium. So that takes the weight off one team, the burden off one team. It allows more cash liquidity in the deal. This deal does not have that liquidity. And because you have more activity, two NFL teams, guess what? The stadium naming rights can be what? Richer. You have more activity. That's what's going to happen in LA, or at least it should happen. If it doesn't, something's wrong. Somebody ain't negotiating right. Just saying. Just saying. Okay. Maurice Keith has some of the best comments. Alex Flores, a newcomer. Alex Flores says, if Sisolak lost the governor's race, how could that affect the project? That's a great question, Alex. And how about Christian Giuliani with a very bold statement? Very bold. The only no vote. She's going to use that to her advantage. It's already working for her. It won't, because it comes to, well, that's a good question. You know what? I need to think that one through. Let me put it this way. If Dan Schwartz became governor, he would be less likely to push through, in theory, or derail certain, he says this, okay? He says he would be less likely to push through public expenditures for the project, for roads, right? He would have the Raiders pay for them. And Senate Bill 1 gives him the opportunity to do that, okay? Welcome to Zenny 62. There's 50 people on here, and it's 2:26 in the morning. That would give him the ability to do that. 51 people, excuse me. With Sisolak, you would get the reverse. Sisolak is an old-time jobs Democrat. So you have to give him his due there. But he's done this at the expense, literally, of the maintenance of Las Vegas and Nevada's and Clark County's continued education problem. So that's a bad move. And so because of that, even though he is that old style Jobs Democrat, that's his problem. He's an old style Jobs Democrat at a time when old style Democrats have been taken on the chin. Look at what happened with Dianne Feinstein. She didn't even get the state of California's backing. She didn't win the vote. Her challenger did, a guy that I'd never heard of. Neither of you. So, I mean, you know, euphemistically speaking, I've heard of him, but I'm emphasizing, all right? The Democratic Party is beset by the same forces that are causing Republican election losses around the country and will continue to do so. The question is, will Sisolak get trapped in that wave? And you know what? I'm going to bet, yeah. I'm going to bet, yeah. I really am. I really am. I think this is a miscalculation on his part. What Steve got going for him that's good? He's internet savvy. But Jen Giuliani taking that no vote on the stadium like that? Wow. That was tremendous. Because now what Sisolak has to be concerned about is every little thing that goes wrong with the stadium project from here on out is going to impact his run for governor of Nevada. He has cemented that in stone. In stone. All right. So there you go, Alex. There's your answer. As I see it. Crawford says the stadium, costs could go up to $4 billion after if this goes as planned. You know, $3 billion. $4 billion I think is a stretch, but definitely $3 billion. I could see that. Including the relocation fee. Maurice Keith says Mark Davis doesn't deserve the fan base in the Bay Area. Every other pro franchise has shown major profits, yet he's fleeing. The whole process has been politically induced. Yep. 32 cents won't affect. Black Lion says, let's see a deal with a price tag like no other. With the NFL breaking their own relocation rules. No profit for the Raiders, no time soon in the deal, and billionaires pulling the strings. MM Forever says, do you predict the Oakland Raiders fans will soon join the Niners fan base once they move? Nope, I don't. I think a lot of people simply just cash out. You know, they like. So you have to understand, it's about a lifestyle. It's about tailgating. It's about people whose families have babies. These are about generations of people that when the Raiders are out of town, they get together at homes either in Oakland or Alameda or wherever, right? And they sit together. It's a continuation of the kind of college experience. Same thing in college. You have season tickets. You sit together, your friends, right? You don't just take that and transfer it to another team. You don't do that. It doesn't work like that. And in the Raiders' case, the price tag for Vegas is such that anyone who would want to make that Star Trek is going to have to spend some money. And therein lay the problems. All right. Eric Guerrero says 11:28 in California, 2:30 here. Raider Rocky says Mayor Schaaf chose the Athletics over the Raiders because owner Fisher had a business outside of sports and has money, more money than Davis family. So the Raiders literally directed our stepchild. I think, you know, this is where I'm critical of Libby. I think Libby, I gave her a plan where she could have played it differently. And I will always be in disagreement with how she handled that. I really will. However, Raider Rocky, I think, we have to consider this mountain of evidence that, let's put it this way. We have to consider this mountain of evidence that points to the Raiders working behind the mayor's back anyway. So what if Libby gave them more of what they wanted? Would that have made a difference? It doesn't look like it. Who knew, right? Mark Davis had launched a deal in secret for years. So you say, and you know what? Prior to the revelations of this information, I'd say, yeah, you're right. But now I'm saying, what difference would it make? The fix was in. Okay? And not just with her, but also with Floyd Kephart, who has to, it'll be interesting to see what Floyd would say about this whole thing. I'd like to know that. All right. Crawford says this is going to hurt Sisolak, especially with progressives. Establishments are losing. Yep. Joseph Bensman says, where is the Sisolak election? When is it? Yeah, it's in November. Well, yeah. Malcontent says Carol Davis, who I think lives in the 510, is the CEO of AD Football, which itself is the managing director, partner of the Oakland Raiders Limited Partnership, right? Black Line Supreme says it's the Raiders or nothing. Albert says Malcontent, she lives in Piedmont. That's right. She lives on Mountain Boulevard. Crawford says, even forever, it is important to retain the brand and history of Oakland. Maurice Keith says the Raiders fans who used to root for Oakland, they would throw money at the A's and support the new ballpark. Now, I can see that. That's a local thing. And Malcontent says, Albert 106, I thought so too, but hadn't verified. Thanks. Thank you, Albert, for doing that. Thank you. Folks, even though this fluctuating went from 41 to 50 and everything else, I apologize. I got to get to sleep. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This has been, once again, fantastic. Great exchange, great discussion. And I'm going to say this closing out. All right. Maurice Keith says AT&T Park produced 4 World Series, so image restoring the image of 4-time world champion athletics with a new ballpark. We're spoiled. Good night, everybody. Hey, I want to say something. Anyone out here who's watching who's pro Vegas, do so, talk about what the stadium brings to Vegas. I mean, sure, I'm going to give you some talking points. Just let me help you along since, intellectually, get the emotion out. The question is, first of all, will the stadium get done by 2020? I'm still not feeling that. Second, if it does, and this is the gigantic question that I've had for some time, what will be the dramatic increase in hotel rooms for that weekend? Will that scare off tourists from coming to the game? And if so, to what degree? How much will people spend beyond the first 5 games? Because I will tell you this, the first 5 games, that will be where your excitement factor sets in. Everyone says, oh, they were predicting disaster. It's not happening, all right? First 5 games. But how much will they pay? Because and there will be, the prices are premium, that word will travel fast. And that will impact the market itself. And people will say, gee, I can't afford that. Right? Okay. The other question is this. I always hear about the casinos, but I haven't seen a single casino, ink any deal. Right now, at least publicly, no casino is involved. I happen to believe the Sheldon Adelson is still involved because his publication, the Las Vegas Review-Journal, has been a cheerleader for the project. And then Mr. Adelson had asked Bob Kraft of the Patriots, hey, you want me to kill this deal? And he didn't. Think about it. So, if you talk about stuff like that, bring that in. That's fun stuff to talk about. Give us some meat. But all this immature stuff, you take it elsewhere. Not here at Zenny 62. All right. Good night, everybody. Black Lion Supreme asks a question: is which came first, the mayor who had been in office since 2014, or Mark Davis? Mark Davis by a mile. Mark Davis came in 2011. Good night, everybody. We'll see you. Thank you.